government. That is that tyranny. Nigeria is this is tyranny, era of tyranny. You understand? And you cannot take it away. As far as we Nigerians are concerned, Abacha is one of the best presidents we have. And Obasanjo, you understand? And Obasanjo, all these people are corrupt. So is it not better we even have people who they said is corrupt that will come and solve our problem in this country than people who say that they are sent, that things are not moving. Our economy is shut down, many things is shut down, nothing is working. So what are we now saying?
What we are passing through in Nigeria is in fact, is not what we expected. You understand? Even so the Nigerians that voted for, because personally myself, I never voted for Buhari for one day. My vote was not casted for him because I know him right from history. When we were in Lagos, then there was a massive unemployment. Then there was no job. People suffer to eat. Then that was why I didn't give him one vote. And I am telling you, this one, I am not giving him one single vote. My community is not giving him one single vote.
Forget about people who see themselves as if they are the ones to decide. He said he's not going to vote for Buhari. That is left for him. He cannot say his community will not vote for Buhari because he don't know even his brother, his immediate brother, will like Buhari more than he did. You understand? That is how you think. We must pass through a wilderness to get to the promised land. What PDP has been doing to this country is only God. If you give them that chance again, we will derail. We'll get back to where we have been into. Eh? So we better suffer it now and our future restored.
This government came on the promise that they are going to make Nigeria better. And on discovering, they discovered that there are a lot of messes, which to clean up that messes, it will not take 1 or 2 years, or even 3 years, or one single term. That means 4 years in government. But I discovered that by giving the government more time, maybe about 8 years or more, we can now start crediting them that yes, they've done this, they've done that. But for the past 3 years of this government, apart from the insecurity that is caused by our own people here in the north central of the Middle Belt extraction, I discovered that yes, this man is really, and the party is really doing well for our people.
The Buhari government is one of the best government we've witnessed. One, Buhari have plan for our generation yet unborn. And Buhari is one we reserve our voters card for to 2023 before we decide who will enter the villa. Because some of us that bring Buhari there, we are still backing Buhari till 2023, and we are happy with his government. The cabinet of Buhari government is people we want. They are intelligent, they are very intelligent, and they are doing what we want. They are protecting our interests, the interest of our generation yet unborn. And our church, we mobilize people, we urge people, we appeal to you to reserve the voters card and continue with Buhari. Thank you, Nigeria.
You're watching People's Television, your people's preferred station, powered by you.
For innovative research-based analysis, fresh news and programs, join us on PTV, the People's Oriented Station, transmitting on StarTimes Channel 120, showing across 36 states in Nigeria, and Channel 77 on Strong Decoder across 52 countries. Yes, you asked for it. Now you have the best of television. You can also follow us on our social media platforms showing on your screen. People's Television, powered by you.
Good evening and welcome to PTV World Desk. I am Daniel Wabuso. We kick off now from Nasarawa State, Nigeria, where many residents in Lafia have been feared dead as a petrol station explodes in the state's capital. A member of the Nasarawa State Fire Service who confirmed the incident to newsmen confirmed that the fire had been put under control. The station caught fire as workers offload gas at the plant. Shops and houses were also burnt. The fire, which swiftly spread to other side of the road, was said to have also caught passers-by as they scrambled for safety. Okay, now the Federation of Muslim Women Association in Nigeria is convinced that poor family values is at the root of many vices in the country. This, according to the group, is clear from the corrupt practices and other familiar vices in the society. The Muslim Women Group made its position known at a press conference in Benin City ahead of its national conference.
This is the 33rd annual conference of the Federation of Muslim Women's Associations in Nigeria, and Edo State is the host of the 4-day event. The focus of this year's conference is family life in Islam, issues and challenges in a dynamic society. And this, the organizer says, is because of the importance of family in all spheres of national life. Someone believes that corruption could be checked from the family setup.
The rise in Nigeria's corruption profile not only portends danger for us, it also depicts us as a people without values. Once again, that shows a strong disconnect between the family, its values, and the nation.
Governor Godwin Obaseki was represented by his deputy, Philip Shaibu, at the event.
The teams of the conference very apt in a situation that the issue of morals has become an issue. Correcting these moral issues is the family. And that's why the theme for this family life is very apt and it is coming at the right time. Government is not the president of Nigeria. Government is not the governor of the state. Government is you and I. And it is not a contribution quota that little quota that will make our country, our states great.
The guest speaker outlined what he considered as the root causes of issues that are known to erode family values.
Most of our parents, we do not bother about this cardinal principle. We do not bother. All we think about are material things. I know that in marriage, you have two aspects, the material and the spiritual. But the material should never take precedence over spirituality. It is not just the coming together that is out of the game. No. The idea is that in your coming together, you would have taken into consideration the parameters enunciated by the Prophet Islam in order to have a successful marriage.
Some women use the platform to urge parents to pay more attention to the upbringing of their children.
If you look at all the children growing up, you'll find that some of them have been sent out. I've been dealing with some of them. I set up a shelter recently for the female detainees from Libya and wherever we go. To keep them there, nurture them. Our arranged academies, developed academies with some successful young women like themselves who have become millionaires, becoming, for instance, I have an academy with the lady mechanic. I'm so excited about the lady mechanic.
A Muslim is naturally endowed with positive values as a follower of a true and upright religion. And most of these values are imbibed into him from his early childhood and early formative years. So he grows up naturally with these values, which help to mold him into a pious, responsible, dedicated, industrious, honest, and contented young personality.
The high point of the event was the unveiling of the magazine, while awards were presented to deserving members.
Over now to Libya, where several armed men attacked the headquarters of the National Oil Corporation (NOC) in the Libyan capital on Monday, and blasts were heard before wounded people were ferried away from the building in ambulances. Now, the attack came less than a week after a fragile truce suspended fierce clashes between rival armed groups in Tripoli. The latest eruption of violence in Tripoli, which has been in turmoil since a 2011 uprising. No group immediately claimed responsibility for Monday's attack. Militants loyal to Islamic State have previously carried out attacks in Tripoli and other Libyan towns and cities. And in South Sudan now, South Sudan's President Omar al-Bashir has dissolved the government, saying he needed to tackle the crisis-hit economy. The number of ministers is to be reduced from 31 to 21. President Bashir said his intention was necessary to solve the state of distress and frustration faced by the country. There have been protests since January when the price of bread doubled after the government eliminated subsidies. The Sudanese currency was devalued, making it harder to buy foreign wheat and other produce. Analysts say Sudan's economy has been struggling ever since South Sudan broke away in 2011, taking its three-quarters of its oil resources. A report from Somalia capital Mogadishu says a car packed with explosive has destroyed a local government building, causing casualties. Witnesses say huge clouds of smoke above the city in Hodan district following a massive explosion and gunfire. One report said 5 people had been killed and a number injured. It's however not known who was behind the attack. The Islamic militant group Al-Shabaab carries out frequent bombings and gun attacks in Mogadishu and other parts of Somalia. The Saudi Arabian authorities have detained an Egyptian hotel worker who appeared in an online video eating breakfast with a female Saudi colleague, said the Labour Ministry, which also summoned the hotel owner for questioning. The world's top oil exporter is pushing a host of economic and social reforms, including banning on women driving and opening up new sectors for women in the bid to end dependency on crude revenues. But some conservative traditions have not been as quick to change in the deeply religious Muslim kingdom. In footage shared widely on social media, the pair ate breakfast at the desk and waved at the camera. At a point, the woman wearing the traditional black robe covering all but her hands and feet feeds the man a piece of spoon. The powerful leader of a once banned Ethiopian rebel group has vowed to work very closely with the government following his return home after more than a decade in exile. Berhanu Nega, who was greeted by large crowds in Ethiopia's capital, Addis Ababa, is seen as the most significant opposition figure to go back in Ethiopia since Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed took office in April, introducing sweeping political reforms. Berhanu, the leader of the Gimbot 7, was sentenced to death in absentia in 2009 for plotting to kill government officials. United Nations Human Rights Chief Michelle Bachelet called on Monday for a new quasi-judicial body to collect evidence with a view to future prosecution of crimes against Muslim Rohingya in Myanmar, including murder and torture. An independent UN team of investigators said in a report last Monday that there was evidence indicating genocidal intent by the military against Rohingya and that crimes against humanity and war crimes appeared to have been committed. The investigators named 6 generals, including the commander-in-chief, whom they said should face justice. Still on UN matters now, the United Nations human rights boss Michelle Chilete called on China on Monday to allow in monitors after deeply disturbing allegations of large re-education camps in which Uyghurs are detained in Xinjiang province. A UN rights panel last month said it had received credible reports that up to 1 million Uyghurs may be detained in extra-legal detention in the far western province and called for them to be freed. China has rejected the allegations of intermittent camps and accused external factors of causing turbulence in the restive region. Going to break now. When we come back, more stories on PTV World Desk.
People's Television Nigeria has gone mobile. You can now watch PTV Nigeria on the go, anywhere in the world. For real-time notifications, just go to Google Play Store if you're on Android or Apple Store if you're on iOS. Search for PTV Nigeria. Download. It's free. It's easy. And now you can catch up with the latest news analysis and political discourse on the go. So stay connected with PTV, Nigeria's #1 online TV.
Soldiers helping Nigerian forces fight Boko Haram.
We will have to persuade Nigerian legislatures.
This is coming together of people who are confused.
Executive order should comply with the law.
I personally dissociate myself completely. Personally.
From this interview, because you have
said there had hardly been any administration.
Practitioner will explain the end of justice about
no religious body in Nigeria validate the claims by the INEC chairman. It is.
Welcome back. We now go over to Sweden, where Sweden faced weeks of uncertainty after its mainstream center-left and center-right blocs emerged in a dead heat from an election on Sunday, while the far right, which neither wants to deal with migrants on a hardline anti-immigrant platform. With nearly all votes counted on Monday, the ruling center-left Social Democrats and Greens and their left party Parliament Ali had 40.6% of the vote, while the opposition center-right alliance was on 40.3%. The Sweden Democrats, a party with white supremacist roots, came third with 17.6%, about 5 percentage points more than 4 years ago. The result was largely in line with the conventional opinion polls, but below the 20% or more figures that some survey had predicted. Still Sweden now. Sweden headed for a huge parliamentary after an election on Sunday that saw support for the nationalist Sweden Democrats surge as one of Europe's most liberal nations turned right amid fears of immigration. The far-right party have made spectacular gains throughout Europe in recent years as anxieties grow over national identity and the effects of globalization and immigration following armed conflicts in the Middle East and North Africa. In Sweden, an influx of 163,000 asylum seekers in 2015, the most in Europe in relation to the country's population of 10 million, has polarized voters and fractured the long-standing political consensus. And in North America now, Greenland's government lost its parliamentary majority as a row between coalition partners escalated on Monday over how a planned upgrade on 3 airports of strategic interest to both Washington and Beijing should be financed. Party Path Nelarak, a pro-independence party, said on Sunday it was quitting the coalition over a plan for Denmark, whose leader is visiting the capital Nuuk to part-fund the project. The Arctic island is a self-ruling part of Denmark, which is concerned that Chinese investment on the agenda since Greenland's Prime Minister Kim Kierslev visited Beijing last year could upset the United States. In the UK now, British Prime Minister Theresa May's Conservative Party faces a catastrophic split if she persists with her proposals on Brexit, which 80 or more of her lawmakers are prepared to vote against. A former junior minister said such public criticism a day after former Foreign Minister Boris Johnson cast her Brexit plans as a suicide vest wrapped around the British Constitution indicates how hard it could be for May to get any Brexit deal approved. If 80 of May's 315 lawmakers voted against a Brexit deal based on her proposal, the fate of the government and Brexit would depend on the Labour Party because she would not command the 320 votes in the 650-seat parliament necessary. Afghan media are facing growing pressure to cut back coverage on militant attacks following the death of 2 television reporters who were among 20 killed in an attack on a sports club in Kabul last week, following an explosion in April that killed 9 reporters, photographers and cameramen covering an attack. Afghanistan has been the deadliest country in the world for journalists this year, according to the Committee to Protect Journalists. On Wednesday, Samim Faramaz, a reporter for Tolo News, and cameraman Ramez Ahmadi were killed by a car bomb, apparently targeting first responders and journalists as they were covering a suicide attack at a wrestling club in Kabul. Pakistani and economic advisors advised banning imports of luxury cars, smartphones and cheese in a wide-ranging strategy session on how to avoid seeking a bailout from the International Monetary Fund. While no decisions were made, the floating of radical measures to tackle Pakistan's ballooning current account deficit by the newly formed Economic Advisory Council underscores the new government's determination to avoid another IMF bailout. The EAC held its first session last week, chaired by Prime Minister Imran Khan, who took office last month, along with Finance Minister Asad Umar. And in Russia now, Russia's President Vladimir Putin said on Monday that regional elections held in some Russian regions on Sunday in general went well. He told a televised meeting with governments and regional officials in the Russian Far East city of Vladivostok that there were no major violations during the elections, while second rounds of voting due to be held in some places was normal practice. Still on Putin now, Russian president has sent a letter of invitation to Kim to visit Russia, to North Korea's Kim Jong-un. Kremlin aide Yuri Ushakov said on Monday. He added no detailed plans of a meeting between the two leaders are being discussed at the moment. The leader of Germany's Social Democrats said on Monday her party would not approve any participation of Germany in the war in Syria, opening a potential new line of conflict in Chancellor Angela Merkel's loveless coalition government. SPD leader Andre Nahles issued a terse statement after the The Bild newspaper reported that Germany's conservative-led defense ministry was examining possible options for joining US, Britain and French forces in any future military actions if the Syrian government again used chemical weapons. Russian and Syrian jets and helicopters on Sunday resumed intensive strikes in Idlib and Hama as Damascus stepped up its assault on the last major stronghold of rebel forces. A Singapore court ordered the return to Malaysia of about $15.3 million, just a small portion of total seized in the city-state as part of a probe into transactions linked to scandal-hit state fund IMDb. Lawyers for the fund and the Malaysian government said on Monday Singapore is among at least 6 countries investigating claims that about $4.5 billion was siphoned from Malaysia Development Berhad, a fund founded by former Malaysian Prime Minister Najib Razak. In 2016, Singapore authorities said they had seized $240 million in cash and properties as a result of investigations into 1MDB-related funds flow through Singapore. A slim majority of Singaporeans still support a law that bans gay sex, an online survey showed on Monday, amid renewed debate on whether the city-state should follow India's footsteps and scrap similar British colonial-era legislation. Previous legal challenges to overturn the ban failed, but a prominent Singapore diplomat called on the gay community to renew their legal action against the law a day after India's top court decriminalized gay sex in a landmark ruling. 55% of 750 Singaporeans surveyed by independent market research and consulting firm Ipsos still support the ban. Don't forget you can watch us live anywhere across the world via our mobile app. It's PTV Nigeria. Download our app from the Google Play Store and the iOS. You can also watch us live via our website. It's www.ptvng.com/live. Download our app and keep yourself updated with happenings and news around the world. And in the last lap of the World Desk, the United Nations Cultural Agency wants to use the reconstruction of Iraq's second city, Mosul, as a way to restore its credibility and show how a fraying multilateral order can be revived, its Director General said on Monday. Officially entitled the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, Paris-based UNESCO is best known for designating and protecting World Heritage Sites from the Galapagos Island to the tombs of Timbuktu. It was plunged into turmoil almost a year ago after the United States pulled out, striking a blow in multilateralism and raising questions over the funding of an agency founded after World War II. French police detained a man who wounded 7 people in a knife attack in central Paris late on Sunday. Police and judicial sources said on Monday, adding there was no initial indication an incident was linked to the terrorism. The attacker, who one police source said was from Afghanistan, stabbed tourists and passers-by along the Bassin de la Villette, a popular outdoor canal area in the northeast of Paris where many people gathered on warm evening. Among those stabs were 2 British tourists. A judicial source said 2 others remained in hospital with several wounds, although they are not thought to be life-threatening. An Australian man was charged with murdering his 3 young daughters, their mother and their grandmother in Perth, police said on Monday, describing the incident as an atrocity and a tragedy. Anthony Robert Harvey, 24, was charged with the murder of his twin 2-year-old girls, their sister 3, their mother 41, and their grandmother 73 in the West Coast city on September 3rd and 4th. Western Australian Police Commissioner Chris Dawson told reporters Harvey stayed at a house in a remote town about 1,500 kilometers away from several days before turning himself into police nearby on Sunday. An Uzbek imam has been sacked after urging President Shavkat Mirziyoyev to lift a ban on personal religion symbols such as women's hijab and birds for men in a case showing the limits of newly proclaimed tolerance in the mainly Muslim country. Mirziyoyev, who came to power in 2016, has relaxed restrictions on religious freedom as part of his campaign of liberal economy and political reforms in the former Soviet Republic of 32 million. But his government stopped short of lifting a decades-long ban on religious clothes and attributes, and specifically barred female students from wearing headscarves known as hijabs in schools by a decree issued last month. The move prompted criticism on social networks led by Vasilidin Pepiev, then Imam of Omina Mosque in Tashkent. He published a video addressed to Mirziyoyev on Facebook last week, an unusual move for an Uzbek cleric. And now in India, nationwide protests against record-high petrol and diesel prices shut down businesses, government forces and schools in many parts of India on Monday, and in some places, protesters blocked trains and roads and vandalized vehicles. Gearing up for general elections less than 9 months away and provincial polls spread in some states later this year, opposition parties banded together to organize their first protest action in a joint campaign to stir discontent with Prime Minister Narendra Modi's Hindu nationalist government. Opposition Congress Party activists marched, blocked roads, and disrupted rains in the eastern Indian state of Odisha, while other opposition parties protested outside offices of oil marketing companies. And finally, in Turkey now, Turkish authorities on Monday detained 51 soldiers and 9 others over alleged links to the US-based cleric who Ankara says orchestrated the failed coup in 2016 against President Tayyip Erdogan. Those detained were among 89 suspects whose detention was ordered in an investigation launched by Istanbul prosecutors and spread over 9 provinces. It said authorities have carried out such sweeps against suspected supporters of the cleric Fethullah Gulen on a regular basis since the 2016 coup attempt, in which 250 people were killed. Gulen, however, denies involvement. That's much you can take on PTV World Desk. Many thanks for watching. I am Daniel Waboso.